This video is sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one website platform helping you succeed online. Alright, so can Xiaomi's pro-level phone, the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max, really compete with Samsung's ultra-level phone, the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra? Well, let's first talk about the camera hardware that each are working with. So the Xiaomi has quad 50 megapixel cameras, 3 on the rear with a wide telephoto and ultra-wide angle camera, and a 50 megapixel selfie camera on the front. The Samsung is working with 4 cameras alone on the rear with a 200 megapixel main camera, a 3x 10 megapixel telephoto sensor, another 5x 50 megapixel telephoto sensor, and a 50 megapixel ultra-wide angle camera as well. And it has a 12 megapixel selfie camera on the front. And since these are both pro-level camera systems, they each support log video, which is what you're seeing here, which allows you to color correct and color grade the footage to get the exact look you're going for. And I think it's also important to mention the camera hardware size, because although smartphone cameras really depend on software image processing, you can't go wrong with better camera hardware. And the Xiaomi actually has the slightly wider main camera over the S25 Ultra. It also has the larger telephoto sensor than both of the S25 Ultra telephoto cameras. Now the Samsung has the wider ultra-wide angle camera, but in the day and age that's been popularized by ultra-wide angle selfie cameras by Apple's iPhone 17 series, the Xiaomi has the larger 50 megapixel selfie camera compared to the smaller 12 megapixel selfie camera on the Samsung, and it also has the wider field of view at 21 millimeters versus the Samsung's 24 millimeters, and that is very close to the iPhone's 20 millimeter ultra-wide angle selfie camera. So if you're looking for a selfie camera, the Xiaomi has technically the better hardware there. But in the end, after all the specs, what it really comes down to is the actual camera performance and what it all looks like. So like I always do, I'm going to show you a bunch of photos and videos in both good and low light conditions to help you decide which of these two camera systems are the best for your smartphone camera needs. So go ahead and take a look at all the photos and videos. Let me know what you think. Kevin, just a quick break from the video to mention that if you're a creator or any kind of creative professional looking to publish your content or even trying to monetize it online, then today's sponsor, Squarespace, has a bunch of tools to make that really easy and help you get started. In addition to offering templates for every type of website to help you quickly get started, Squarespace offers various ways to quickly set up various income streams, from selling your photos or artwork on various products your audience would appreciate, to providing a quick way for your supporters to donate and help fund your work, or selecting from pre-built templates to easily create a members-only area on your website to offer your supporters exclusive content and new ways to connect with you. And when you're ready to publish your website, go to squarespace.com/grantlikestech for 10% off your first website or domain. I'd like to thank Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, which helps me bring you more content like this. Now let's get back to the video. Everyone, so here's a video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. As you can see, they both are actively recording from the rear-facing cameras. And today I'm starting with the ultra-wide-angle cameras at 4K 60 frames per second. So I'm just going to pan on here so you get a side-by-side view of these ultra-wide-angle cameras. And it is a bit overcast today. The clouds and the sky is not looking as blue as I think the Samsung is making it out to be, at least what I can see in the viewfinder. It's a little closer to maybe the Xiaomi, but maybe not quite there. So definitely not completely blue skies, more grayish than anything. But again, ultra-wide-angle cameras, and of course the S25 Ultra, as you can see, has the wider field of view. It can fit more in the frame than the Xiaomi can. But we'll move into the main cameras on each with the Xiaomi and with the S25 Ultra. So this is now the main cameras on both. And again, I'll just go ahead and pan around so you get a side-by-side view. And I think in the viewfinder, the S25 Ultra is making the sky look bluer than it really is. So just take note of that. And we'll pan over to our right and we'll test the zoom out on that cell tower. So 5x telephoto on the Xiaomi. Let me get that. There we go. And let's go to 5x telephoto here on the Samsung. So both 5x telephoto cameras there. The S25 Ultra does have this 3x telephoto as well. We'll move back into the 5x and move into a 10x zoom on each, and now on the Xiaomi. So this is now 10x zoom onto the telephoto. And we'll move all the way into a max 15x on the Xiaomi. And we can go to max 20x here on the S25 Ultra. Both looking pretty clear and steady at their max focal lengths here. And we'll back it out on the Samsung and on the Xiaomi. And we'll test autofocus here on the post with the Xiaomi first. So focus up and away, refocus and away. One more time. So maybe that second time took a little bit longer in the Xiaomi, but I think it's maybe the focal distance there, so that was faster. Now on the Samsung, same thing, away, refocus and away. And it is cloudier, so I think it is harder for it to focus, but it's also the distance. So but both looking pretty good and really nice natural bokeh. And we'll walk down the stairs so I can see the stabilization side by side, as well as walking through the pathway here. And then I'm just going to jog to try to stress out that stabilization a bit. So go 4K 60 frames per second video test here in a bit overcast conditions on both the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. Let me know what you think about this footage. Alright, so we're back with the rear-facing cameras, this time at portrait video turned on. So you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now. And that blur is fully adjustable. The Xiaomi is set to an aperture of f/2.8 right now. And the Galaxy S25 Ultra uses a number system, so it's max blurriness, if you will, at 7 out of 7. But again, you can adjust that to be a little bit lighter if you want. And it's an overcast day, so not super bright sunlight to deal with. And I'll just go ahead and start rotating the phone and panning around so you can see what this effect looks like as we introduce a little bit of movement, as well as some of the light conditions slightly change here. And so the sun would be directly behind me. I'll try to dip it down so the sun or whatever light would be shining more into the cameras. You can see what that does to the overall picture quality and the effect. But I'll just keep panning around so you get to see how this looks like as the lighting conditions slightly shifts as we get back to where we were. And I'll just walk so we can see how this effect holds up with a bit of movement, as well as just test the stabilization here side by side. So let me know what you think about the portrait video here on the Galaxy S25 Ultra and Xiaomi 17 Pro Max. So here's a video test of the front-facing cameras on the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and Galaxy S25 Ultra. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second on each. And off the bat, you'll notice that the Xiaomi has a slightly wider field of view. You can fit a bit more on the frame than the S25 Ultra can. And it's an overcast day, if you can kind of see, a bit overcast, so no real extreme sunlight to deal with. So it should be looking pretty good, pretty even picture quality here because no really strong sunlight. But I'll just pan around to give you an idea of what this starts to look like here as the lighting conditions change a little bit, with the sun now being more directly behind me. It would be right back up there. You can see what that does to exposure and picture quality when I dip it in to the sunlight that way. I'll just keep going around so you can see what this looks like. As we get back to where we were, I'll just start walking so we can test the stabilization, and you can see what that looks like here side by side. So let me know what you think about the front-facing video quality here on the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and Galaxy S25 Ultra. So we're back with the front-facing camera, this time with portrait video turned on, so you should be seeing this artificial background blur right now. And they're both fully adjustable. The Xiaomi is set to an aperture of f/2.8, and the Samsung uses number system, so it's a max 7 out of 7 right now. But of course you can adjust that to be a little bit more less or more blurry as you want. And again, I'll just pan around so you can see how this effect holds up with some movement and some of the slightly changing lighting conditions. Again, overcast day, so no real extreme sunlight to deal with here. But if I did dip the phone down, you can see the sun would be back here. But you can see what this does to exposure and how that effect holds up as we keep coming back around to just about where we were. And I'm just going to start walking so we can test the stabilization as well as show how this effect holds up with some movement. So let me know what you think about portrait video here on the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and Galaxy S25 Ultra front-facing cameras. Hey everyone, so here's a low light video test of the rear cameras of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second, and these are the ultra wide angle cameras on each to start out with. And at 4K 60, as you can see, these ultra wide angle cameras are pretty dark. If you went to 30 frames per second, it will look a little bit brighter. But since these are smaller sensors, they're going to let in less light, but this is still pretty dark for some ultra wide angle cameras. And again, if you switch to 30 frames, in general, it will get brighter and it will look brighter. I've tried it myself. But again, these are the ultra wide angle cameras side by side right now. But once we switch into the main camera on the Xiaomi and on the S25 Ultra, you can notice it'll brighten up considerably. So the main sensors are much larger. They let in a lot more light. So here are the main cameras side by side, looking a lot brighter in this fairly dark environment, although we've got lights off the building here, but no really bright street light turned on right now. And we can test out the telephoto cameras. So we got the 5x telephoto here on the Xiaomi, and then we go to 5x telephoto here on the Samsung. And off the bat, the Samsung is much darker here. Again, at 30 frames it'll look a little bit brighter, but even at 60 frames the Xiaomi telephoto's a lot brighter. And the Xiaomi can go up to a 15x zoom here, and the S25 Ultra can go up to 20x, although at least in the viewfinder it's really dark to the point where I'm not really seeing much on the S25 Ultra. And we back it out to the main camera, you see it's brighter, and the same thing on the Xiaomi. And we'll pan around this way, and we'll just walk so we can test the stabilization, as well as show you what things look like as it gets a bit darker here. So there was some good amount of light coming off the building there, and as I walk along this pathway, there is light off the building. But as I round the corner, it'll get pretty dark, where there is no lights on this pathway. And there's no really bright street light at all here. So this area is much darker. And I'll just pull up here, and you can see down here, it's a dark stretch here. On the Samsung it's much darker. On the Xiaomi it's brightening things up more, at least in the viewfinder, than the Samsung is. And I'll pan up into the sky, which it is a very overcast night, so those are clouds and it should look grayish. But still, because it's trying to brighten things up, it gets some noise there, as you can see. And we'll pan back this way and back down to this darker area. So let me know what you think about this 4K 60 low light footage here at night from the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the Galaxy S25 Ultra. So here's a low light video test from the front facing cameras of the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and Galaxy S25 Ultra. This is being shot at 4K 60 frames per second. And off the bat, you'll notice that the Samsung has the much darker picture quality here, and the Xiaomi is much brighter. At least that's what I'm seeing in the viewfinder. And that's generally the rule of thumb. At 60 frames per second, most phones are going to be a little bit darker video quality. So if you're shooting in low light, I would always recommend using 30 frames per second. But I'm just trying to show you the highest frame rate here side by side. And obviously I'm outdoors. This is actually a pretty ideal lighting condition here with all the really bright street lights behind me. But we'll just go ahead and start walking so I can show you the stabilization and what it looks like here side by side. And then I'll go ahead and move into this darker area so you can see what it looks like here with a lot less lights, none of those really bright street lights around me, and how the picture quality looks with that. And we'll go ahead and pan all the way around, and you can see what this looks like here with the really bright street lights behind me, and how the front facing cameras handle those lights more directly into the picture here. And I'll just go ahead and move back to this darker area here so you can see what this looks like side by side with a lot less light. And it's a lot warmer, dingier light, so that's kind of the quality that you're gonna get, which is not very good. And still in the viewfinder, the S25 Ultra is much darker. The Xiaomi is brighter, but they're both pretty grainy. And so I'm gonna come back with a quick sample at 4K 30 frames per second so you can see what I'm talking about as far as overall brighter quality. And then I'll also come back with the final thoughts of what I think about this camera comparison. Alright, so we're back at 4K 30 frames per second, so you can see what I was talking about. Everything is looking a lot brighter here. And so if you don't want it looking as dark and you don't want to fiddle with any kind of pro controls, shooting at 30 frames per second brightens everything up, although it's still going to look fairly grainy in lower light, even with this amount of light around me. And so I'll just wrap this up with my thoughts about this camera comparison. And for me, at least the S25 Ultra had a lot better video quality overall to me than the Xiaomi. The Xiaomi selfie camera seems to have been improved over previous generations to me. I don't remember Xiaomi's selfie camera being this good. I still think overall maybe this S25 Ultra results from the selfie camera look a little bit better, but Xiaomi's come a long way. But the Xiaomi does have the advantage because it has the rear display that can be used as a viewfinder. So you can use the rear cameras to take all your selfies and use those highest quality cameras on the rear to take all your selfies on the Xiaomi. So that's where the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max has that advantage. They both have pro controls and pro features for both photos and videos. So if you want to shoot in RAW or log video and have full control over your photos and your videos, you can do that on both. The Xiaomi may have a little bit more as far as filters because they partner with Leica. And so you have a lot of those Leica filters and the Leica looks. So if you like that artistic style, I think the Xiaomi might be for you. But overall, they both have a lot of pro controls and pro features if you want to use those type of pro type of camera features and have that kind of control over what you shoot. But do let me know what you thought about the overall camera comparison and which one you personally prefer and would use on a day-to-day basis and why. Of course, if you have any other questions that I can help answer, drop them in the comment section below. I'll always try to answer what I can. And as always, thanks for watching.